Hey everybody, this is Perrin from longtailuniversity.com. Most of you probably also know me from nichepursuits.com. I'm the SEO manager there, and I take care and run and build sites for Spencer. So if you'd like to see some of the work I've done or some of the case studies we do over there, go ahead and check it out. But I will be delivering this lesson to you, which is lesson 7, developing a keyword-driven content strategy. So first, here's a secret. The whole point of keyword research is to find ways to write content that attracts quality traffic to your site. And why is that? It's because keywords don't do anything on their own. They only matter in the context of the content. Keywords aren't what's going to achieve your goals. It's content that gets shared. It's content that's going to actually rank in Google. It's content that's going to build authority, engage your buyers, get emails, create readership, and all the other things you're after if you're watching this keyword research course. So, to really make your keywords work for you, you need a totally killer content strategy. But what does that mean? Well, first we can ask ourselves, what is a content strategy? In a nutshell, it's a purposeful game plan for 4 different things, 4 really specific things. First, it's a plan for what kind of content you're going to write, and that's going to depend on a lot of different things. For example, if you have a travel site, you're going to be writing much different content than if you have, say, a back pain site. You're going to have a different audience, a different demographic, and your readers will probably even be in a different mood when they read your stuff. So you have to have a plan for what kind of content you're going to write. It's also a plan for how you're going to structure your site. And that's important from both Google's perspective and from a user experience perspective. You have to have categories in mind. You have to have a general site layout. You have to make sure it's crawlable by Google's robots, and that's part of the content strategy. Third, a content strategy is a plan for where you're going to get your content and how you're going to edit it. This is called an editorial process. So if you're just starting a site, you might be writing the first couple of articles yourself, but eventually you're going to want to outsource that content to someone else, and pay for it. You're also going to want to have some sort of process in place to edit it if you don't want to do that yourself. And you have to have a plan for how it's going to get on your site. So a content strategy helps with all of this stuff. It's a plan for where you're going to get your content, what sort of editorial process you have in place to make sure that the content is actually good enough to be on your site, and then finally, how it's actually going to get on your site. And finally, a content strategy is just a schedule for your content, which is what in the editing world we call an editorial calendar. And this is basically how you're going to post your content, in what order, and how frequently. So, for example, when I start my sites, I like to get a core of money sites up first, and then I like to sort of drip out other linkable assets and social articles. But it's all going to depend on your resources, and there's no right or wrong way, but you have to have a plan, and a content strategy is a plan for the schedule of your content. It helps you come up with an editorial calendar. And we'll dive into the details in a second, but first, we have to answer a really important question, I think, which is, why is this in a keyword research course? And the answer is because most of the time, especially for niche sites, content strategies rely heavily on keyword research. And if they don't, they should. I was actually just talking to another internet marketer the other day, and he was asking me which tools were most important to me. And the first thing that popped in my head was my keyword research tools, because they are what drives my content engine, and content is what makes me money. So keyword research and content are really intertwined. So here's kind of what I mean. This is how content strategies really lean on keyword research. So first, most successful money articles, the articles that are really going to be bringing in your revenue, target some long tail keyword. And usually, or often anyway, they target a whole bunch of long tail keywords. And if you're not targeting a bunch of keywords in a specific article, you end up ranking for lots of related keywords anyway. Second, keyword research illuminates problems, pain points, solutions, and products in your market that you probably or that you may not have heard of. I did a demo for the SEM Rush software, which is a software I use all the time, and I kind of made like a demo hunting site, and one of the keywords I found when I was doing my research was a nozzler. And before doing keyword research, I had no idea what a nozzler is, but I looked into it and would have made a fantastic keyword that probably would have brought in a lot of money, and it would have made a really cool article. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't done keyword research. So keyword research can help you find these problems and these pain points and these solutions, and especially if you're trying to make money, the products that your market really likes. And a lot of those you probably wouldn't have heard before. So I guess I'm saying is that it's also a great way to do market research. And third, by doing keyword research, your content will start to organize itself into groups, which is super useful for site mapping, which is part of a content strategy. So for example, when I was doing keyword research for my now infamous and now dead shaving site, which was really successful for a really long time, I started to realize that there were some main categories that these keywords were falling into. For that site, it was safety razors, which is like an old-time razor, shaving brushes, and shaving soap. And I really didn't know that those were the three main categories that audience really cared about. But by doing a bunch of keyword research, looking at hundreds of different keywords, I could kind of see how these keywords were organizing themselves. And so that's one big benefit. It kind of takes some of the work out of it for you. You don't have to guess. And fourth, and most importantly, it's often very difficult to get a good ROI on content without good keyword research. So if you do bad keyword research, or if you don't do any keyword research at all, and believe me, I have built blogs this way before I knew what I was doing, you're not going to rank for anything. You're going to get very little traffic. And sometimes you might even get a bunch of traffic, but it's, you don't know enough about that keyword to really make money off of it. And so if you're watching this course, you probably do want to make money. And so doing good keyword research is a really effective way to get great ROI on your content. So that's kind of why really great content strategies lean heavily on keyword research. So let's talk about what content actually does. There are two basic types of content. The first is a money article, or what we call money articles, and the second is what we call linkable or shareable assets. And these are two very different types of articles, even though they can kind of overlap. So let's take a look at each one in depth. So let's talk about money articles. Money articles are the articles or blog posts that sell whatever you want to be selling. They're generally going to be your major revenue drivers. So if you have a car insurance site, these are going to be the articles that get people to either sign up to be a lead or buy car insurance or whatever it is. For my shaving site, these were the sites that had big product comparison tables and got people to click through to Amazon. These are also the articles, especially for niche sites, the types of sites that we like to build over at nichepursuits.com, that have really strong buying intent modifiers. So for a product type site, it might be like best or cheap or top, or for an e-commerce site, it might have a modifier like for sale. But they're those types of articles that are targeting people who are far along in the buying process using things that those types of people would be searching for. The best stuff, the cheap stuff, the top stuff. People saying, I want to make a decision. Show me the information. Third, these articles often provide product information. And of course, this won't be true for all sites. Some AdSense sites might not necessarily provide product information, but for lots of sites, especially for big e-commerce sites or like an Amazon affiliate site, they're going to provide product information. And fourth, and most importantly, it can often be extremely difficult to build links. So why is that important? Well, it's important because you want to rank for these keywords, right? And if you can't build a link to your product page, then it's going to be kind of difficult to rank for it. We all know that we kind of need links to rank for stuff, but product articles are very tough to build links to. And that's mostly because average bloggers, your average blogger out there blogging about shaving or whatever, doesn't want to link to your sales page. They want to make money on their own. Maybe they'll be an affiliate and you'll get that rare do follow link, but most affiliates are going to no follow their affiliate links just to stay in Google's good graces. So these are the articles that are going to make you money, but the major downside is it's a little bit tougher to rank for them because it's very difficult to build links to these pages, naturally anyway, or in a white hat way. And that's where linkable and shareable assets come in. If your money articles are built to make money, your linkable and shareable assets are built to help you rank or to build an audience or to gather links. So these types of articles can also target keywords, but they aren't necessarily meant to sell. Instead, they're built specifically to attract links or shares or tweets or some other kind of engagement, right? For SEO purposes and the way I typically use them, I usually build them to attract links. And third, while many of them will target some keywords, they're typically not buying keywords, and they're more based on really, really good content. And most of the time, they have really good viral titles. But the most important thing to remember about a linkable or shareable asset is that they have extremely good content. Think like epic content. And the reason is you want to build something that people will link to. And what I've kind of discovered in my site building years is that it's very difficult to create something good enough to get somebody to link to it from their blog. You know, they have to either write a blog post or they have to go in and edit a post that they've already made and link to your blog. And when you show them that thing, it really kind of has to blow them away. So they're built with extremely good content. Fourth, the main objective of these types of articles is to boost SEO authority by attracting a bunch of links and or to build an audience. You can also build these for like Facebook or Pinterest to attract lots of traffic and maybe capture emails. For our purposes in a keyword research course talking about ranking keywords, these things are usually used to boost SEO authority. And so examples of these might be like infographics, listicles, those big lists you probably see in your Facebook feed, 25 awesome travel destinations in Australia or that sort of thing, or skyscraper content, which is something that Brian Dean blogs a lot of. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. This is an example of a linkable asset that was featured on Backlinko. And Brian Dean is one of our good friends, so I don't mind kind of riding his coattails here, but he interviewed a guy who runs inspiringinterns.com. And if you were going to brainstorm industries that would be hard to build links with, I think interns might be up near the top. That would be a very tough site to try to get people to link to. So his solution was to create this infographic. And it's a nice infographic. It has lots of good information. It may not look the best. But he created this infographic. He promoted it. He reached out to bloggers, told them that they could use the infographic on their blog, and he would write them a personalized introduction for their blog. When he did that, of course, he included a link back to his site. So as you can see up at the top with the Moz bar here, this particular page attracted 29 links from 12 linking root domains, which is really good. If you do this 10 times, you have over 100 links. That's awesome. And here is another one from Health Ambition. Health Ambition is a pretty well-known blog now in the SEO world. This is an article titled Best Juicing Recipes for Weight Loss, Tasty and Effective. And this isn't an infographic, but it is truly epic content. It is lots and lots and lots of stuff. And there are ads on this page, and there are affiliate offers on this page. But it's epic enough that it could attract links on its own. And I believe it was used mainly for that purpose. So you can see this attracted 493 links from 10 different domains, which is also a really big success. All you have to do is, do this a couple more times, and you have a really solid base of links coming into your site, probably more than you would need for a small niche site. And we can also look at one that I created on my old site at pennyshave.com. This is called Cool Beard Style Guide. I didn't write this with any intention of selling anything. I just saw the keyword and thought that it made sense for my site. And I put a bunch of cool information on different beard styles with some good pictures, and this ended up attracting 29 links from 4 root domains, which isn't as much success as some of these other guys are having, but it's still 4 links that I might not have otherwise had. So, and that's just because the content is fun and good and comprehensive and long and in-depth. It's something people will share and will link to. So say you have a base of money articles and you have built 1 or 2 good linkable assets. How do these things play off each other? Well, here's one method. You first build a highly linkable asset, You promote it so it gains links and authority. And after it attracts links, you use internal links on that page, on the page of your linkable asset, to boost your money articles. So for example, you can look at this diagram. The linkable asset is there in the middle. You have all of these external sites pointing links to that asset. And then from that linkable asset, you use internal links to boost all of your money articles. So basically, it's a way to attract link juice that you couldn't attract with your pure money articles to a highly linkable asset, and then spreading that SEO juice around your site. So let's look at a more hypothetical example. Imagine you were selling blue widgets. That's what your site is about. That's the action you wanted people to take. You might create a massive infographic on the history of blue widgets and put it in an article titled The Incredible History of Blue Widgets. Then you might promote it through like social media channels. You might do a bunch of outreach. And in the end, you may attract 5, 10, 15 links if you're doing some really good outreach. After that, you would put internal links from that article, The Incredible History of Blue Widgets, to your money articles. And then eventually, after that SEO juice kind of propagates, your money articles will get a boost in the SERPs. So the whole idea here is to use your money articles to make money and to use your linkable assets to gain the authority that your money articles need to actually rank in Google. And I can tell you from experience, this works really, really, really well. I'm building a new site in a brand new niche, and I built a core of something like 70 different money articles. And then I spent a lot of time and considerably more investment, not more investment, but more investment per article on some linkable assets. And I promoted those really heavily, and I got all of the links that I currently have from using those linkable assets. And I don't have one link to any product article. And I'm doing really well. I'm ranking in the SERPs, and it's because the link juice is flowing into those linkable assets because they're so easy to link to and out to my money articles. That said, there is one type of money article that you can use to build some links and make a little bit of money. So I want to spend some time talking about the role of your primary keywords and what they do in your content strategy. So your primary keyword is designed to be a major money maker for your site. If you followed along with our case study on the shaving site, our primary keyword was best safety razor. It had low competition. It had pretty high search volume. And, it was like a keyword that indicated people were really looking to buy a very specific product. And when I'm building a site, these are the keywords that I'm worried about the rankings for. I honestly don't check the rankings for hardly any of my. I do track the rankings of my primary keyword. So why are these the exception? Why can you build links to these? It's mostly because your primary keyword usually appears, and if it doesn't, it should, in a very in-depth article with crazy good information. So if you've seen any of our case studies, our primary keyword articles are usually 3,000 plus words with massive tables with lots of good information, and they're super duper well researched. They are not outsourced. We usually write these ourselves, but the idea is they can be good enough to also act as a linkable app. So if you're writing a guest post, you can link to them. You can reach out to people and say, hey, I built this really comprehensive guide. You may want to include it in this page, that kind of thing. So in general, the profile of your main money articles are that they're 3,000 plus words. And I know people who have a lot of success with like 10,000 word articles or so. But we're talking pretty long, not your standard $20, 1,000 word article. It's usually a comprehensive guide to something. And if you want a really great example of what type of content that means, go look at Backlinko or QuickSprout. They get a very large chunk of their links through comprehensive guides. There's usually some kind of link bait. So an infographic, an interview from an expert, a shout out to somebody, something that you can either give someone and say, hey, you can have this. Do you want to link to the original post? Or something that would cause someone to link to you. So you might interview an expert and then they could mention you on their blog. But it's going the extra mile to put that kind of link bait in. And lastly, they should also get contextual internal links from all of your other relevant linkable assets, and usually from lots of your other money articles. So these are pieces that are going to be boosted by external links, and they're also going to be boosted by internal links. They're going to target a really valuable keyword with lots of nice volume, and it's going to be a little bit easier to rank these in the SERPs. Well, the keyword won't be easier, but because you're putting this much effort into one keyword, it should be slightly easier to rank for that particular keyword. I also want to talk about the role of secondary keywords in your content strategy. Secondary keywords are basically all of your other keywords, mostly money keywords, that are going to be low competition, lower search volume keywords that are meant to sort of build your traffic incrementally over time. And when we start a blog, we usually find like 100 or so of these, and they almost always drive the content engine. They're the fuel for our content engine going down the road, because we can just pluck a keyword off that list, hand it off to a writer, and say, hey, write an article about it. The really great thing about the role of secondary keywords is that they attract tons and tons of long-tail traffic. And lastly, and eventually, they will usually shape the market your site falls into. So if you add more long-tail keywords about fishing, you're going to attract a bigger market share of that fishing market. So that's kind of a rundown of the types of articles and the types of keywords you can go for on a site. And I wanted to show you some examples of articles that combine all of these, because you really can. It's difficult. You probably don't want to do this for every single article you publish, just because it will eat up so many resources. But there are some really good articles that can target a primary keyword, target a host of other secondary keywords, and also serve as sort of a linkable asset and a shareable asset that has viral potential. So you can see a couple examples here. The first one is on Survival Life, which a lot of internet marketers know. It's called 36 paracord projects for preppers. This is what the article looks like. You can see it's got 6,000 likes. It's got 28 links from 9 linking root domains. It's got 15,000 pins. And I believe their primary keyword is paracord projects here. Maybe paracord projects for preppers are probably both those keywords. But it's also targeting a whole bunch of other stuff. It's targeting the keyword paracord belt. It's targeting the keyword paracord keychain. And you know, there are just tons and tons of info here. There's lots of pictures. It's highly shareable. It's got a lot of viral potential, as you can see by the social activity. It's attracted some links, and it's targeting a really great primary keyword and a whole bunch of secondary keywords. And if you look at how this page interacts with the site, or the role this page plays in the site on like SEMrush or Ahrefs, you can see that this brings in a considerable amount of traffic for them. The last I heard, this was their highest traffic page. So to bring that home, you can and should have different types of content. I typically separate my content. I'll write a really great primary keyword article. I'll write a whole bunch of secondary keyword articles, and then I'll spend a lot of time, energy, and money on my linkable and shareable assets to really build my authority. So to wrap this lesson up, I wanted to go back to this slide from the beginning and kind of recap what a content strategy is supposed to do. So first, you have to know what kind of content you're going to write, and that's mostly what we covered in this lesson. You also need to know how you're going to structure your site, and as we talked about, just doing lots of keyword research will help you figure out an appropriate structure for your site, you know, your categories and your subcategories and that sort of thing. You also need to know where you're going to get your content and how you're going to edit it. And I'm going to give you some resources in, I believe, the next lesson for where you can go buy content, some actual places you can find writers or hire services. And you also need some editorial process in place. The size that my sites are at right now, which is kind of medium size, I usually do all of the editorial stuff, but eventually I will need some sort of plan. For our bigger sites and niche pursuits, we typically either train our writers to edit and post each other's writing, or we just hire editors. And then lastly, your content strategy should include some schedule for your content, or an editorial calendar. And the way that typically looks is it starts off slower because you're building a brand new site with fewer resources. And then as the site starts to make money and pay for itself, it gets more and more frequent. So you might start with a core of 15 articles, and then you promote some linkable assets. And then as it starts to make money, you can build all the way up to 10 articles a month, 20 articles a month, 50, 100 articles a month if you are really, really trucking. And at that point, you're probably making tons of money. But the point is your editorial calendar should sort of mirror your resources and your energy bandwidth so that you don't get ahead of yourself. Anyway, that's content strategy in a nutshell. There are tons of other things to talk about with content strategies, but this isn't a content strategy course. This is a keyword course, so we wanted to take a little bit to kind of talk about how these two play into each other and how you can use keywords to shape your content strategy. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.